Hi folks, Toad here with Visordown.com, and we are in Tenerife, where the weather's been looking a little bit sketchy for the launch of probably the biggest news story of 2020, and I mean big in every way. This is Triumph's brand new, all new Rocket 3, and we have been riding two versions of this bike today. So there's the red one here, which is the R. There's also a GT version, which we've also been riding. So just a very quick overview of the two bikes that we've been riding. So the R version is £19,500, and it has got sort of like set forward handlebars, quite an aggressive riding position, and it's got mid set footrests as well. The GT is £20,200, and for that you get forward mounted controls, although you can interchange them. So yeah, the R version is the version that you can see here, and it's got kind of an aggressive riding style, mid set footrest. It's got slightly swept back handlebars, but kind of like a drag sort of style bar arrangement, and it is just a roadster stripped to the core. The GT that we've also been riding is the same bike, basically the same bike under the skin, but it's got some touring and comfort options, a slightly more padded seat. It's got a rear backrest for a pillion, and the bars are also swept back. There's also a fly screen as well. The GT is £20,200 and the R is £19,500. So let's really get into the meat of this thing, which of course is that huge engine down there. So it is a 2,500cc, all new. There is nothing in this engine that you could sort of interchange with the old Rocket 3. There's a lot of work gone into it to sort of reduce the mass. So the crank alone is about 11 kilograms lighter than the old Rocket 3, which means it really does spin up ferociously quickly when you think about the actual size of the engine. It's putting out 165 horsepower and a mind-boggling 221 newton meters of torque, which is more than some small capacity vans have. I think one of the transit vans has actually got less torque and less power than this thing, but it is an absolute behemoth to ride. So the torque curve on this, and that's what it's all about really, the power figures a lot, but the torque is just incredible, and it is just a big fat chunky torque curve that runs all the way from about sort of 2,000 RPM right the way through almost to the red line, which is about 6.5, 7,000 RPM. It's a really tractable motor, so obviously you've got all that torque behind you. You can just stick it in third gear and ride it like an automatic and just sort of pootle around, but it does really live in higher up the rev range. It's sort of, the engine comes to life. It's a little bit vibey, which is to be expected when you've got such a big engine mounted in a frame that is a stressed member. So like I said, it's a little bit vibey, but you kind of forgive it because it is such an engine. It is just all engine effectively. The vibration only really comes through the frame and the side of the tank though. You're not really getting any through the foot pegs or the handlebars. They're quite nicely damped, which is quite cool. The gearbox on it is a 6-speed. You can upgrade it with a quick shifter, although I don't really know why you would, because you can clutch a shift on this with ease. It's a really pleasurable unit, not had any problems with false neutrals, and it's dead positive, and it's very user friendly in that respect. So that's the engine. Let's have a look at the suspension on this thing. So as you'd expect from a bike of this size, it has got some of the biggest forks that you can get. I think they're 46 or 47 millimeter shower front forks, which are fully adjustable, and there is a shower rear shock as well with a separate preload adjuster on there. It is a very plush setup. So on some of the roads we've been riding today, it's been sort of like billiard table smooth, but then on some of them there have been some undulations and it's been a little bit rutted. And it deals with it really well. You can't really, it never gets flustered. It never feels like it's getting tied up in knots, which is quite a cool trick when you think about something this big and carrying this much weight and this much power down some of the switchback roads that we've been riding today. They've done a really good job of tuning the suspension and making it work with this bike, which is really important because it is, you know, it's not a show pony. You've got to be able to ride this thing, and you can hustle on it on some of the roads that we've been riding today. Don't let the size of it fool you. The big girl can boogie. So after the suspension, we've got to go through the brakes, which, like the suspension, are equally huge. We've got massive Brembo monoblock calipers at the front with huge great whopping discs. I think they're getting on for about 400 millimeters. And at the back you've also got a Brembo monoblock caliper as well, which is actually bigger than the front brakes on some bikes. So backing up these huge brakes, we have got very nice radially sort of mounted master cylinders, and you've also got an IM controlled 6-axis cornering ABS, which also works with the traction control. because of the geometry of the bike and the weight is quite set low, you do kind of get that thing that you sometimes get with a cruiser where you're really hard on the front brake and you just get that front tyre sort of skipping because the weight's not transferring onto the front like a sports bike or like a naked would. It's kind of like sledging it on forwards. Aside from that though, the braking system is more than adequate and up to the job. You can really brake very, very late. You've got so much bite through the calipers because they're so fucking huge. And you've got bags of feel as well because it's got a properly nice lever. So all in all, the braking system is pucker. So just going to go through the equipment. So we have got the latest generation Triumph TFT Dash on this, which isn't ready for Bluetooth connectivity yet, but when these things hit the showrooms, Triumph have assured us that you will be able to connect your phone, your GoPro, and control everything, your music, answer calls, make calls, through the switch cube on the left-hand handlebar. The Dash is also one of those ones where you can flip the theme and you can choose different styles and stuff like that. I don't really see the point of it. It's not, I don't ever change it. I just get on it and ride it and stick it on the one that makes it the clearest and the easiest to read. But Triumph have done a lot of research and they found that for some of their buyers, that's quite an important thing to have. So it's there if you need it. We've got 4 riding modes. So we've got Rain, Road, Sport and Rider. Rider's your user configurable one. And they've all got varying amounts of traction control application, ABS application and engine mapping as well. Started off the day in just road mode and then stuck it in sport, which has got it's a much more direct throttle response and you can use all of the power, traction control's lower. But yeah, sport is going to be the one that you're going to be in most of the time, I would say. So what do we like about the Triumph Rocket 3? I think one of the main things that I like about it is that it is just a bit bonkers. And, you know, motorcycling is all about having fun. It's to put a smile on your face at the end of the day. And that's one thing that this bike does definitely do. It definitely brings a big old grin to my mush. I like the fact that it's very tractable and very usable. It's not intimidating in any way once you get riding. Even manual handling, just wheeling the bike around, the weight of it is all set so low down in the belly of the engine there that it's a really manageable, really easy, user-friendly bike to ride and to live with and to sort of deal with. The other thing that I like about it is I like the fact that they've stayed true to the Rocket styling. They've gone for the twin headlight design. It still immediately looks like a Rocket. It couldn't be built by anybody else. And I like that they've stayed faithful to that because I think that would have really upset the purists if they'd have completely sort of changed the styling. What don't we like? On the GT model, ground clearance is an issue. I've worn away the sole of my boot from scraping foot pegs and scraping my feet on the ground. So yeah, ground clearance on the GT is a little bit of an issue, but not so much on the R model that you can see in front of me here. And the other thing is, because it's got so much torque and the engine is such a pleasure to use, it tends to get a little bit thirsty because you just end up riding it like a complete and utter billy. So, on to the verdict. One thing that's been a lot of chatter on social media from people talking about the price of this bike and the fact that it's a lot more than the original Rocket 3 was when it was built, but Triumph have had to put a lot of work in to develop it. It's not, like I said earlier on in the video, it's not a rehash. They've not just spruced up the old Rocket 3. It's from the ground up, it is a brand new bike. The other thing is when you compare it to the competition, the likes of the Harley Davidson Fat Bob, the Ducati X Diavel, the Diavel 1260S, they're kind of all in and about the price range, and this is the only bike that offers this kind of excess in a way. All the others are V-twins, and by comparison to this, they're fairly sort of normal in a way. But yeah, this is Triumph's Rocket 3. If you like the look of it, get yourself down to a Triumph dealer, give it a test drive, you will not be disappointed. You read a full review on Visordown.com.